Hello, my name is Bethany Hunt, and I chose to complete my pioneer presentation over Lev Vygotsky, 1836 to 1934. In this presentation, we will be going over Vygotsky's theory of sociocultural cognitive development. First, we will cover Vygotsky's early life. Lev Vygotsky was born into an affluent family that had a love for art and literature on November 17, 1896 in Orsha, Belarus. He was the second of 8 children born to parents Simka and Celia Vygotsky. Not long after Lev's birth, his father, who was a banker by trade, was made department head at the United Bank of Gomel, so the Vygotsky family made the move to Gomel, Belarus, where Lev spent his childhood. As a child, he contracted tuberculosis, but fortunately made a full recovery. Vygotsky's mother was a teacher, but she felt a calling to be home with her children, so he received his primary education at home under the instruction of his mother and a private tutor. He attended a public school for his secondary education and excelled in his classes. He graduated with a gold medal at the age of 17, which earned him entrance into college. Moving on to his early professional and personal life. After completing secondary school in 1913, Vygotsky enrolled in Moscow State University, but his course options were very limited due to his Jewish background. At first, he decided to study medicine. However, he had a deep interest in humanities and social sciences and soon transferred to Moscow University Law School. While enrolled in law school, Vygotsky also started attending Chernyavsky People's University to study literature, sociology, psychology, philosophy, and linguistics. He completed his master's degree in 1917 and planned to continue his education, but his studies were interrupted by the Bolshevik Revolution that was happening in Petrograd and Moscow. At this time, Vygotsky decided to return home to Gomel, which was under the governmental control of the Ukrainian state, which was an anti-Bolshevik government. Little is known about Vygotsky's life at that time, but it is known that civil war and famine overtook Gomel, and Vygotsky taught literature and philosophy at various institutes for approximately 7 years. In 1919, the Bolsheviks gained control of Gomel. While teaching, Vygotsky started reading about education and psychology. He was also an active participant in the social transformation of Gomel under Bolshevik control, and he was a prominent representative of the Bolshevik government in his hometown. In 1924, Vygotsky married Rosa Smekova, and the couple went on to have 2 daughters, Gita in 1925 and Isaiah in 1930. While teaching in Gomel, Vygotsky established a research laboratory at the local college while he was working as the head of a psychology lab, and he began practicing clinical psychology while working on his doctoral thesis. And on this slide, I have included a picture of Vygotsky, his wife, and their 2 daughters. Moving on to his career as an educational psychologist. In 1924, Vygotsky was a presenter at the Second All-Russian Psychoneurological Congress in Leningrad, formerly Petrograd. During the conference, he presented his paper titled Methodology of Reflexological and Psychological Research, which focused on comparing the methods of reflexological and psychological investigation. After his presentation, Vygotsky was offered a position as a research fellow at the Psychological Institute of Moscow. Vygotsky accepted the offer, and he and his family moved to Moscow. While working at the Psychological Institute of Moscow as a staff scientist and secondary teacher, Vygotsky lived in the basement of the building and had unlimited access to a large number of archived materials. During this time, he focused his research on the influence of language in learning and learning processes. He continued his work at the Institute for 10 years. In 1925, Vygotsky successfully completed his doctoral degree after finishing his thesis that was called The Psychology of Art. In the summer of that year, he visited London to attend a congress about the education of the deaf. Unfortunately, he experienced a relapse of his tuberculosis and ended up hospitalized. By good fortune, he survived the illness again, but he became incapacitated and was unable to work for approximately 1 year. His doctoral degree was awarded in absentia in the fall of 1925. He went on to continue his work at the Institute for 10 years. The development of Vygotsky's theory and his claim to fame. Vygotsky's theory of human development is based upon a sociocultural approach. Vygotsky believed that a child's culture and social interactions with others play a crucial role in their cognitive development. He accepted the belief that children can learn through their own exploration, but his theories emphasize how crucial social interaction is for cognitive development. He believed that language encourages reasoning and thinking, and argued that children build their behaviors and habits through their interpersonal relationships with others, and referred to this as cultural meditation. Vygotsky developed the zone of proximal development, or ZPD. This theory explains the learning process of children and is his most famous concept. The ZPD is defined as the area between what a child can accomplish on their own and what they can achieve with the guidance of an adult or collaboration with a more advanced peer. The person with greater knowledge is known as the more knowledgeable other, or MKO. The social support that Vygotsky felt was important to cognitive development became known as scaffolding. Simply put, scaffolding is the process of helping a child do something without doing all of the work for them. The act of scaffolding should be in a constant state of change and should be adjusted as children master new capabilities. Another large part of Vygotsky's theory of sociocultural development centered on play. He felt that playing serves a crucial role in a child's cognitive development, and that children learn several new concepts when using their imaginations while participating in make-believe playtime. There were several people who influenced the work of Lev Vygotsky. He was influenced by Baruch Spinoza, Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, and Ivan Pavlov. Vygotsky's influence from Spinoza comes from the idea of consciousness and how our emotions affect our thoughts. Vygotsky drew on Marx's influence of the connections between how humans think and the world around them. Vygotsky focused his research on child development based on Freud's insistence that personality and emotions are based upon childhood experiences. Finally, Vygotsky's idea that language is important for cognitive development can be linked to Pavlov's theory of external symbols and states of mind. Vygotsky's late life. During his 10-year career, Vygotsky fought relapses of tuberculosis many times. The disease finally took him from this world in 1934 at the age of 37. He lectured throughout the USSR, organized research projects, performed clinical psychology, and completed many writings during his career. After his death, his writings were banned in the USSR for 20 years because of his conventional way of thinking. Unfortunately, Vygotsky passed away before he completed his research, but he left a significant impact on psychology and education around the world. In fact, many of his writings were published several decades after his death. Vygotsky's influence on teaching. I believe that teachers should be familiar with Vygotsky's work because his theories seem to be the epitome of the workings of an everyday classroom. Like Vygotsky, I do believe that children can learn through their own exploration and discoveries, but they need social interactions with others who hold advanced knowledge to progress to their full cognitive potential. Teachers who are familiar with Vygotsky's work will understand the importance of the ZPD for their students, provide scaffolding, and encourage social interactions between students and a more knowledgeable other, or MKO. By using Vygotsky's theory in the classroom, educators can encourage their students to explore, build concepts, and little by little perform more actions on their own without guidance. After all, educators are in the classroom to guide and facilitate the learning of their students, and that is precisely what Vygotsky theorized. And this concludes my presentation on Lev Vygotsky.